Welcome to St. Margaret of Antioch Church. We want you to enjoy our beautiful Grade 1 listed building and appreciate some of its ancient artefacts and interesting features. Crick was an important stopping place for travellers along the old Oxford Road, and by 700 AD the first Saxon church was built here, and the road was later diverted to make room for a churchyard. The first churches would have been built of wood, but they were later replaced by stone. Crick Church is mentioned in the Domesday Book. It also records 17 villagers, 6 moorholders, and a priest. Over successive centuries, Crick Church was extended. A tower was added in the 13th century, and its outer walls were later faced with pink stone from Hart's Hill in Nuneaton. By 14th century, the roof had been raised to include a clerestory to add light to the church, and in 15th and 16th centuries, windows were replaced. In the 19th century, the organ was installed and the churchyard extended. Inevitably, the last 100 years have seen heating and electricity added, flooring relaid. These changes must continue to keep St. Margaret's relevant and accessible for the 21st century. St. Margaret of Antioch, to whom this church is dedicated, was martyred in 304. The reason was Margaret refused to marry an important local official who demanded she renounce her Christian faith. He imprisoned and tortured her, forcing her to suffer many trials and tribulations, one of which was being swallowed by Satan, disguised as a dragon. And if you look closely at St. Margaret's stone image, you can see her holding a cross in the dragon's mouth. Whilst you seek St. Margaret, notice also the many interesting gargoyles that decorate the ceiling. Look closely to find 2 lovers kissing, a Norman knight in chainmail, a green man and a queen's head. The skill and creativity of the stonemasons is endless, and there is humour and wit in many designs. It is a shame that the gargoyles are so high up, and we can't always appreciate their detail. Another stunning feature of the church is its beautiful stained glass windows. In the north aisle, you will see a window of random patterns and shapes. Look closer and you will notice faces, a bishop's mitre and some cherubs. These last fragments are medieval, about 400 to 500 years old, and Flemish by design. Incredibly, they were found underneath one of the pews during a refurbishment last century, and they have been sensitively restored to the window in 1995. The magnificent east window was erected in memory of Reverend Charles Swainson's mother, Harriet, in the late 19th century. Its colours are beautiful, particularly on a sunny day. In the middle of the window is John the Baptist. He is wearing a hair shirt and carrying a cross. Either side of him are the 4 Gospel writers, Matthew, Mark, Luke and John. Below these figures are 5 panels, each depicting a scene from different stories in the Gospels. As you sit in the baptistry area, you cannot help but notice its unusual font, which is Norman and unique in that no other example like this is known. Its bowl is decorated with 3 rows of circular motifs, and the rim has zigzag moulding, and the whole is supported by 3 monster figures, their backs bent with the strain. This font has been here for over 1,000 years and is still baptising the children of Crick families today. Around the baptistry area and inside many of the pews, you'll see a colourful variety of handmade kneelers. Many of these were stitched in the 1980s when a number of parishioners purchased kneeler kits or created their own designs in memory of loved ones, local organisations or events. If you turn them over, you will see a dedication on the reverse. Also in the baptistry is an imposing carved oak chair and a prayer desk. These were donated by the local influential Marson family in the early 20th century. Thomas Marson was a churchwarden here for 51 years, and he devoted both time and money to the support and preservation of St. Margaret's. On the desk is our visitor's book. If you have time, please leave us a comment. Walking along the south aisle, you will see this strange box-like hutch. It is a vicar's shelter and was used in the 18th and 19th century to keep the vicar dry as he conducted graveside ceremonies. In times of plague and pestilence, the vicar could be burying several people in one day, and this canopy kept his feet and clothing dry and would be carried from graveside to graveside. St. Margaret's, like many churches, is a cold place in the winter, and in 1856 Sir Goldworthy Gurney painted his stove, cleverly designed to radiate more heat because of the ribs increasing surface area. It will have been a smoky, dusty form of heat, but it became popular in churches around the country. Gurney stoves are still in use to this day in cathedrals such as Ely, Durham and Peterborough. William Laud was rector of Crick from 1623 to 1626. It is unlikely that he spent much of that time in Crick, instead using his rents from glebe lands to pay a curate. He became the Archbishop of Canterbury in 1633, at the time Charles I was on the throne. This was an ill-fated appointment, and he was arrested in 1640 and executed in 1645. The portrait hanging in the south aisle is a copy of the one in St. John's College, Oxford. In Laud's will, he left an annual sum of £5 for the poor of Crick. Along the left side of the altar, you will see a late 12th century stone effigy. It was discovered in 1926 when the floor was being relaid in the sanctuary. We don't know who she was, but you will notice her hands are clasped in prayer, and the style of her simple clothing is still easy to see. At her feet is a small dog which symbolised her guardian, and was often found at the feet of women. The dog or hound represented loyalty to the kingdom. Male effigies are more likely to have a lion or a hunting dog. Our magnificent organ was built in 1819 by Thomas Eliot of Tottenham Court Road, London. It was designed for King George IV in Chapel Royal at St. James's Palace. However, it didn't fit and was not used, but if you look closely at the surrounding railing, you will see the crown and mitre. After languishing, probably unused, at a church in Leamington, the organ was donated to St. Margaret in 1841 by a blind resident of Crick. Since then, his gift has brought nearly 200 years of musical pleasure to congregations and choirs. The organ is still used today and has a beautiful tone. We want you to enjoy your exploration of our lovely church. There are some information leaflets available in the baptistry area to help you identify some of the items mentioned here, whilst you continue to absorb and reflect on the 1,200-year atmosphere of this beautiful building.